Hello guys and welcome to a brand new series on the Ursina engine. And in this series I'm gonna be teaching you guys some of the basics of the Ursina engine. Now real quick, what is the Ursina engine? Now it is a game engine that can be with Python, and it's pretty simple, it's beginner friendly, no really much calculations or something. And yeah, so with that said, let's get into it. So all you would honestly really need is basically a general knowledge of Python. So I'll put a card on the screen right now, on my playlist of the Python tutorials, and you need to also install some modules. And really, if you want just to learn the basics of the Ursina engine, all you really need is the Ursina itself. So all you have to do is open up your command prompt, type pip install Ursina, like this. No capital letters, nothing. Just pip install Ursina. And by that, I probably assume that you have Python installed. Now, I'm not going to install Ursina because I already have it installed. Now, it's always good to have some other modules also when you're working in Ursina, but now for the basics, we just need Ursina. So, first of all, we want to import Ursina. First of all, we're going to use from, or sorry, so I'm just gonna save that file. And there we go. And there we go. So we're gonna start by importing Ursina, and we're gonna do this. So I'm gonna say from Ursina import, and then an asterisk. Now, what this basically means is that from the Ursina module, we're gonna import everything. So this asterisk over here means everything. So now that we've imported Ursina, we need to create the window first. The window is surprisingly easy, really easy. So first of all, you have to create a variable that I like to call app, and set it equal to Ursina. Make sure it's a capital letter Ursina, otherwise it won't work. Oops, coming over here. Problem. Just undo everything. There we go. So here we're setting the variable app to function Ursina, and then we're gonna say app dot run. Now these two lines over here that I've just created are basically some functions to sort of run the window. So now if you run the program, and just wait a little bit. So over here there are some things that should be popping up. As long as if it's not an error message, then you are good to go. So we'll just wait for it to load. It's just the first time I run this happens. There we go. And if we wait a little bit, there we go. We have a Ursina windows. This is the Ursina window. Now there are some things over here that we might discuss. This X button is basically to exit. This is the FPS, or the frame rates per second. And this over here basically opens some debugging tools or something like that. We don't need any of this right now, so we're gonna close it up. So now we got the window ready. Now what do we need to do next? Well, now let's start by drawing some sort of simple shapes on the screen. So for example, you want to say draw a rectangle or something. So what do you do? Now, everything in Ursina, or almost everything, is treated as an entity. And if you play Minecraft, I'm sure you know what an entity is. But an entity is basically anything on the screen for now. So there's actually a function for that, and all you need to do is type a variable. So let's create a rectangle right now. So let's name it rect. We'll set it equal to, and then we need entity. Make sure the E is in capital letter, entity, this. And then we need some arguments inside this function. So the first argument that you would fill in is the model. Now the model argument is basically how or what shape you want the Ursina to display. So for example, if I want to display a rectangle, I don't type rectangle because it's also counted as a square. Now I'm pretty sure if I type this, it should work. Now let's run the program and see. And okay, it doesn't seem to be working. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's a quad. Let's see. Yeah, so there we go. Sorry, it was not square, it was quad. Okay. So we have a quad or a square basically displayed on the screen. Now between the arguments, we want to put a comma, and we can do some other things with it. So it's not only the model. Now, say you want to set it a specific color. So, for example, you want it to look red or green or whatever. So all you have to do is type color equals color dot and then the color you want. For example, I want my quad to be yellow, so I'll just type yellow. I found the program. My square should be yellow. There we go. Just like this. If you want a green color, maybe you type green. And right there we go. We have the green. So now say you, for example, want to implement a texture or something. Now we're gonna look at that more into the series, but now all you need to know is we actually have some built-in textures. And one of these textures is a brick. Now, first of all, rewind a little bit. How can we actually make a texture or implement a texture on our quad? So, this is as easy as like setting up the window or something. So just type texture equals, and we're gonna look into some customized textures later on where you can do the textures. But for now, we're gonna do it with one of the built-in textures. The most used texture that I see is the brick texture. So if you run the program now, you see you have this customized or I guess brick texture over here. So this is all good. We have the brick texture, we have the texture. Now say the size is sort of small, so the square over here that we're seeing is probably small. So what we could do is we could add another comma over here, and then we could say scale and equals, and then we could type some brackets over here. And this takes two arguments. So for example, we want to scale it. So first, it takes the x argument and then the y. So just like always. So say you want to maybe scale it by 2 in the x, and to keep it relatively simple, 2, 2. And there we go. We have a bigger square right now. So say you want to make a rectangle. Well, easy. Just maybe make one of the numbers longer. I mean, higher than the other, and there you go. You got a rectangle. Now the texture will sort of stretch when you do that. If you have a texture or something. Now let's put that color thing in here again. So now, by the way, if you're wondering, these don't have to be in specific orders. I just like to make them in this order. So color equals color dot equal to green. So this is basically how you bring the color into your model. So if you got a specific texture, there you go. Now, when you probably start importing your own textures, you won't need to implement the colors because you probably have color in your sort of texture or something. And yeah, so now Ursina is not only good for 2D things, and by the way, let's try the circle now. If we put the model of circle, there we go. We got that little cinema rod stuff over here. Yeah, that's probably because of the texture. And then we got the scale. Actually, let's make it a perfect circle. And again, if you want to make an oval, like you saw, you just stretch the values. And there you go, just like that. Now, these arguments really are not that important, so you can just run with one of the arguments moved. And there you go. Now, the only thing that I think should be there is the model, like this. So if you run that, you get a perfect circle. Right, there we go, with no errors. Now, we could technically leave this blank. If we go ahead and run that, really, we could leave that blank, but nothing would happen. As you can see, we get a blank screen again. So we need to add properties to that element or entity. So let's go into the model again and see. Now, I was saying it's not only 2D shapes, it's also like 3D shapes. So you can do cube. Now, if I run the program, obviously you're gonna see a 2D square over here, but actually this is a 3D shape. Now, when we start implementing some of the like controller and stuff like that, or like the player controller and stuff like that, then you could probably see that it's a cube, and you could also add texturing to the cube and everything as normal. But I think here's where I'm gonna end this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then consider leaving a like and subscribing, and I'll see you guys in